everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the squad list, tier list. I did this a year ago. It was based off an article I read in the Independent about David Moyes' tenure at Everton, where he had a secret room. He had various whiteboards, mainly relating to transfer targets and scout reports. But in one of his whiteboards, he had his current team. And then the team was broken down into little categories. Players that he saw having a long-term future at Everton, players who needed to move on, players who needed to upgrade pretty soon, players that were perhaps too young or on the fringes but felt that they'd eventually break into the team at Everton. So last year, I did it for last season's squad, and it did good views for the channel. It did alright. A lot of you tuned in, so I thought if I could get them views, I'm going to do it again. But I quite enjoy doing these. There's a little bit of fun. But tomorrow, we're doing the community edition. Whenever we do a tier list, we like to follow up the following night with a community version where we get interactive with the live chat. So tomorrow, Thursday night, 5 PM UK time, 5 PM, we will be live. So please join us. No, seriously, please do, because it won't work if nobody's there tuning in and telling us what category they think each player should go in. So there'll be my one today, then sort of Hammers Chat subscribers version tomorrow night. So, got 4 categories. Let me tell you a brief description about each one and we'll go crack on with the video. So we've got key player, self-explanatory. Those who've got a long-term future at West Ham, in they go. Now I must state right now, this is my opinions. This is how I see the West Ham squad, not what I think David Moyes sees it, okay? He'll do for now. Now, there could be various reasons as to why the player will go in there. It could be because of their age. They're getting on a little bit. It could be because they're injury prone, so we're going to need to upgrade them eventually. Obviously, we've got to bear in mind that in the summer we're going to have a limited budget. So perhaps there's players that they maybe don't have a long-term future at West Ham, but they'll do okay for the next couple of seasons. Basically, can you see the player here in 3 years' time? The answer is no. They're going to go in. He'll do for now. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. The jury's out on these players. I had a little look at the video I did last year. I had 4 players in this category. Players that I just hadn't made my mind up. I didn't know if they'd have a future at West Ham. I didn't know if I wanted to sell them. And there's 1 or 2 I can think of off the top of my head right now that will go into this category for this video. Then at the very bottom, we've got get him sold or released. Because there's a few players with their contracts expiring. Mark Noble, for example, he's going to have to go in that category simply because his contract's come to an end. But get him sold is the ones that I would like to see us try and move on in the summer transfer window. So, with all that said and done, let's stick in one of the most obvious players of Benrahma Rice. In key category, he goes. Now you can see what I'm talking about. In he goes, Benrahma Rice. We know he's got a long-term future at West Ham. If he gets that, if we're able to resist any bids for him, is another matter. But how do I see Declan's squad role? Simple. He's one of the most important players of the team, along with Jared Bowen. The 2 easiest players to do in the tier list. In they go. Both having really good seasons. I think Jared, where would we be without them two? Bottom half the table, probably. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Every team's like that. You could go and look at Arsenal and say, well, where would they be without player X and Y in the bottom half? Anyway, back to the West Ham squad. Let's take a little look. Let's get somebody. Soufal. I'm going to put him in the he'll do for now. He should be in key player. After last season, he should be up there, but he's not. He's had a really bad season, so he goes in the he'll do for now. If a bids of silly money come in for the summer, I'd sell him, but we're not going to get silly money for him. So it's one of those players, given his age, given his sort of market value. He's, like I said, he's having a bad season, but I don't think it's an immediate area for concern. I think we've got enough cover at right back at the squad where we probably don't need to upgrade the position in the summer. But next season, he needs a better end to this season and next season. Otherwise, when we do this video next year, he's going to be dropping down a category or 2, isn't he, Soufal? But for now, he'll do. He'll do. Let's take a little look. Some of these players are hard to tell who's who. Alright, who have we got here? Michail Antonio, I put him in he'll do for now as well. Now this is probably this is an age based one, slightly different to Soufal. If Antonio was 25, he'd go in the key player, but he's not. He's getting on a little bit now. Next season, the season after, he'll be fine at West Ham. But beyond that, we need to be upgrading. We need to upgrade him in the summer, but he's still going to have a squad role minimum to play going forward next season. As it stands, if hypothetically we had a top striker at the club right now, there is an argument that Antonio would still start, just perhaps on the left wing rather than up front. So he's definitely got a squad role at West Ham, definitely got a place here, but only for the next couple of seasons due to his age and his injury record as well, I guess. So in he goes there. And then we've got David Martin. He should go in there, right? he should go in this sort of get him sold. But I'm actually going to put him in the he'll do for now. And the reason being, because his wages are so low, I think he's almost worth keeping round a little bit, because I don't think he's really blocking the progress of any of our young keepers. If Trott and Annan were good enough, they would just overtake David Martin in the pecking order. But because his wages are so low, I'd keep him simply because Darren Randolph, get him sold. Now I think I'm applying a little bit of context as why I'd keep David Martin around at the squad, because I think Randolph would move on in the summer, get him off the wage bill. I'd imagine his wages is still low for a Premier League goalkeeper, but a lot more than what David Martin's is. So there you go, 2 goalkeepers in as well. Right, Arthur Masuaku, get him sold. He's not very good, is he? He's not got a future at West Ham. I think we need a left back in the summer. We can't afford to have Creswell, Masuaku and a new left back on the books. We just can't afford it. It's silly for West Ham to have 3 sort of left backs on a first team player's wage. So Masuaku needs to go. In terms of his transfer value, it's not loads. It's a case of we'll take whatever we can get for him. I still think he retains some million, but that's important. So we can get him off the books, get him out of the club for a few million quid, and use that to upgrade the left back, and essentially look to replace Aaron Creswell next season. Let's move on to Aaron Creswell actually for the flow of the conversation, and I'm gonna. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, it's all jumping all over the place. Now, Aaron Creswell goes in, he'll do for now. The reason being is because of his age. He's 32 now. He's been here since, 2014? I'll be honest with you. I want to see Aaron Creswell retire at West Ham. Or, be with us until... I don't want to see him feature for another Premier League club. If he perhaps drops down to like a lower league for a couple of seasons, that's fine. But in terms of his Premier League career, I want him to finish it at West Ham. He's been here for 8 years now. I want him to get a testimonial. I do. I think he's one of our more underrated signings in sort of the later Premier League era, if you like. He was under 5 million, 3.5 million or something we paid. An absolute bargain. I think he's been a brilliant servant to the club, had his injury problems, but I think, I've absolutely loved Aaron Creswell at West Ham. I think next season, this is where Creswell could be pivotal for the type of left back we target in the summer. Now, my number one choice, everyone knows, is Aaron Hickey. Is he good enough to start in the Premier League next season? I'm not sure. But give him a year or two bedded in, then he will be. I've got no doubt that he's good enough to play in the Premier League eventually. But having Creswell, it's almost like the perfect age, really. So you can bring somebody in that needs a year to get up to speed with the Premier League. But then, once he is up to speed and takes Aaron Creswell's place, Creswell is of that age where actually perhaps a squad role at West Ham is okay for him. I just think we're in a really good, fortunate position, if you like, with Creswell. We'd like to see him stay, like I said, stay here for another couple of years and get his testimonial. So he'll do for now, but needs upgraded. The left back situation needs rectified. I say rectified, it's not a massive issue, but we need a left back in the summer because we're struggling at the minute with our formation and that. We seem a bit restricted to 4 at the back. We'd usually go to 3 at the back, and I think the reason we haven't is because we don't have a left wing back so that Creswell can then drop into a back 3. If we had got one in January, I would have expected us to have changed formation by now, or certainly for the Wolves game at the weekend, maybe change formation. But anyway, Aaron Creswell, he'll do for now. Craig Dawson, he'll do for now. I think next year he's got a role here, of course he does. The season beyond that, I'm not sure. It's definitely somebody we need to upgrade. We take into consideration his age, and he's done well for his 2 million. I'm not Dawson's biggest fan. I'm not going to try and kick him down. Like I said, I'm not saying sell him, but I think he's limited as a centre back. I think he does the defensive actions really good, but in terms of retaining possession and stuff, I think he frustrates me a little bit. It's a bit of a bugbear of mine, I guess. But I think he'll do for now. I think he's got a squad role for West Ham going forward for the next couple of seasons at least. Ryan Fredericks, get him sold. I put him in there. He's coming to the end of his contract. It's time to say thank you very much, Ryan, and on he goes. He's been a decent enough signing. We didn't pay anything for him. He's been fine. At times we've called upon him in the last couple of seasons. He's had some really good games. He's had a couple of poor games. His last 2 performances have been really poor against Kidderminster and Newcastle at the weekend. but it's time to say goodbye to him, really. I said David Martin isn't standing in the way of anyone's progress at West Ham, and I do believe that. But I think Ryan Fredericks is in the way of Harrison Ashby, and arguably Ben Johnson as well. But certainly Harrison Ashby, I think he'd maybe have a few more appearances, or at least substitute appearances under his belt, had we not had Fredericks as a player in the squad. So yeah, Fredericks, off he goes, and it's saves wages, doesn't it? Again, I doubt he's on much, maybe £30,000-40,000 a week, quite cheap for a Premier League player. But when we offload him in the summer and we replace him essentially with someone from the under 23s, it's free money in terms of wages going forward in order to strengthen the squad in the summer. So Ryan Fredericks goes in the get him sold category. Right, who else have we got? Mr. Mark Noble, let's stick him in the bottom category. And coming to the end of his contract, we know that he's leaving West Ham. I keep wanting to say retire. It's still not confirmed that he's retiring from football completely. I assume he is, but in he goes there at the bottom. Now Vlasic, I'm going to put him in the category that no one else is in yet. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Jury's out, and that's okay. I think considering it's his first season and we've signed him from a foreign club, I think it's okay to be in that category. But next season he either moves up or moves down. So either decide next season, actually it's not worked out, we're going to have to try and get what we can back, or he goes up into he'll do for now, or hopefully up into keeper. As it stands, I still think there's a player in there. Whether we see it at West Ham or not, I'm not too sure. I was reasonably confident when we signed him that we'd see him. Up until the summer, I think Moyes' sort of track record in his second tenure has been reasonably good in the transfer market. I think when you look at the last transfer window, it's not been too good, has it? Vlasic is a big money signing, and we've not seen any big performances yet. So yes, you need to give him time to settle in, but at the same time, you need something from him. Do you know what I mean? We can't just write off the whole season and be an attacker down essentially because he's not performing really well. So jury's out on him for me, which is a bit disappointing. I expected more from him this season, and at times he's had small chances here or there where he's not really taking them. I think the performances of Fornals and Benrahma over the last couple of weeks may give him another opportunity very soon, whether it's against Wolves or Liverpool or Southampton in the Cup. I think we'll see Vlasic start in 1 or 2 games, but I'd like to see a bit more evidence, certainly before the end of the season, a bit more evidence that he does have a future at West Ham and that he can provide for us, because at the minute it's not been too good, has it? Alex Kral, let's stick him in the bottom one. He's not going to be here next season. He's only on loan. Can't see us trying to buy him with that, so off he goes. Fabianski, he'll do for now. If his contract was coming to an end, if he hadn't signed that new deal, I think I'd probably still put him in that and like to see him get a new contract. We still need to go after a goalkeeper in the summer though. I think Randolph's in there for a reason, because I want Randolph to move on and somebody to come in and challenge Lucas Fabianski. Well, that gives it away for Areola. Areola goes in the bottom one. I just don't. Actually, no. I'm going to put him in. No, let me read. Let me just explain. Areola, I don't think we can decide yet. I can't decide yet. I think he's a top goalkeeper. If he was on less wages, I'd have him in the he'll do for now Virgin on key player long term at West Ham. Actually, I think he's a top goalkeeper. But because of his wages, I'm not too sure. But going back to Fabianski, I'd like him to be sort of the backup goalkeeper, the number 2 goalkeeper next season. We need to have a succession plan in place from this summer onwards for the goalkeeper position. I assumed it was Areola, got Areola on loan. I thought, brilliant, come May, Areola will be the number 1, Fabianski will be on the bench, and that's what we do going into next season. It's now the end of February, and Areola is still on the bench, and Fabianski's still a number 1. And Fabianski's had a good season, but that's all. It's not been excellent or anything like that. Another shaky performance against Newcastle, and I feel we're in a never-ending cycle with Fabianski this season, where he has good game, average game, good game, bad game. Do we put Areola in? We don't, and then Fabianski follows up with another good one. And I feel like we're in this cycle of 1 good, 1 bad, and 2 average performances from Fabianski over a 4-game span, and it's almost not enough to drop him and put Areola in. But at the same time, for me as a fan, it's not really enough to convince me that he's our undisputed number 1 goalkeeper. I think he's our number 1 goalkeeper just. So yeah, in he goes, he'll do for now. And Areola, jury's out for me. I still think there's maybe a future for him at West Ham, in my opinion. Do I think Moyes sees that? No. But this isn't about what Moyes thinks, this is about what I think. I think he's possibly got one. Anyway, let's move on. Issa Diop. I mean, I'm not going to put him in key player, right? He's not going in there. And I'm not going to put him in yes, no, maybe, I don't know, because I've seen enough of him. He's either going to go in, he'll do for now, which is, you know, exactly that. That next season he'll play for West Ham, maybe the season, but his ability we're not quite sure on yet. I'm not quite sure if he's got a future, but we'll give him another season. Or he's going to have to go in the bottom one, and I'm going to put him in the bottom one purely for the reason of money. I think he's the one player in this team that we can probably sell in the summer that retains quite a lot of market value. That how much we would get for him, 15 million maybe, 20 million in that bracket perhaps. That's a lot of money for essentially our third choice centre back currently. It gives a little bit of flexibility. Could we get a better centre back than Diop for 15 to 20 million? I believe so. I'd be surprised if we couldn't. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in that category. And I like Diop. I'm not saying he's a poor player. I'm not said that at all. Pardon me. I just don't think he suits David Moyes, and I don't think Moyes suits him. And I said, I can't remember when it was. It was a recent video. I said I see him as a bit of a ball-playing centre-back, really. Someone that doesn't mind knocking it out. And some people disagreed, but then his next game, he went and lobbed over the top for Bourne to run through and score. I think he suits Pellegrini as a player, but I don't think he suits David Moyes. I think Craig Dawson does, with his no-nonsense defending. But in a weird way, as a fan, I just prefer it's a Diop type centre-back than the Craig Dawson one. I know that one will be popular, but that's just my opinion of how I like to see football played, I guess. So I'll put Diop in there, get him sold though, because I think we need to cash in, use the money, go get a better centre-back, and then happy days, really. Right, who else have we got? Yarmolenko, yeah, get him sold, get him gone. Contract's up, good, goodbye. Saeed Benrahma, oh. He's not a key player for me. He's not a key player. He'll do for now. No, I'm going to put him in the I'm going to put him in the bottom one. Get him sold. I'm starting to realise now I've got half the squad in there, which is not ideal. But the reason I'm doing it, before people shout, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I like Saeed Benrahma. I like him. I don't like Moyes as manager for Saeed Benrahma. I don't think Moyes is the right manager, and I don't think he's the right player for Moyes. We've always given the impression when we signed him that it wasn't a David Moyes signing, that Moyes wanted Eze at Crystal Palace but got given Saeed Benrahma, and I've seen very little evidence since then to suggest that that was wrong. In fact, all I've seen is evidence to suggest it was right, in that Moyes doesn't particularly fancy him. Does he do enough to warrant more game time? I think sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. I think unlike Vlasic is, you know, he's only been here since, well, very late on in August. Benrahma's been here a lot longer now, and we took him from the Championship rather than the Foreign League. I think it's sort of time running out for Benrahma. And a bit like Issa Diop, which I've just said that he retains market value, I think Benrahma does as well. I think we'd still get 20 million back for him. And I'd fancy us to be able to replace Saeed Benrahma for 20 million and get somebody that fits what David Moyes wants a hell of a lot more. Take Jesse Lingard, for example, out of contract in the summer. If we know we can get Jesse Lingard, because we will know by now if we can get him or not, if we know we can get him for free, then there you go. You can get rid of Benrahma and bring in Jesse Lingard, and you've got 20 million in the transfer kitted. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not trying to talk down Benrahma as a player. I think he's a brilliant player. I'd love to see him have a future at West Ham. I just don't see it under David Moyes, really. That's not a criticism of Moyes. It's not a criticism of Benrahma. It's just an unfortunate thing. It's Sebastian Haller, this, isn't it? Difference is Moyes was the manager when he joined West Ham, whereas with Sebastian Haller, Pellegrini was the manager. It's just the wrong player at the wrong club, wrong fit. It needs to go somewhere that they'll build the attack around him and get the best out of him. That is not David Moyes, and that's not West Ham United. Unfortunately, it's a shame, really. I was excited when we signed him. It's just not really worked out, has it? So I think in the summer, I'd personally look to move him on and get somebody a bit like Jared Bowen, we need somebody that's good enough to almost start every game on the left-hand side. We don't even know his best position. Is it in number 10 or on the left? The fact we don't know is not a good thing, is it? Anyway, let's move on. Who have we got left? Kurt Zouma, key player, and he goes at the top there. Brilliant signing, the only successful signing from the summer, really, isn't it? Build our defence around him. I think he's absolutely fantastic. When Zuma's in a team, we're just better. We're better at everything. We're better at defending. We're better at moving the ball out of the defence. Everything just gets better with Kurt Zouma in there. His partners get better. Whoever's next to him gets better as well. And I think that's the biggest compliment I can give him. Absolutely love him as a player. Key player for us as far as I'm concerned. Right, Thomas Souček. I'm still gonna put him in key player. I think a large part of it depends on what we're doing with Declan Rice, or what the other clubs are doing with Declan Rice, I guess. If Rice remains, Souček becomes even more vital to West Ham. We cannot lose both. Sorry, if Rice gets sold, Souček becomes even more vital. If Rice was to remain, then that gives us a bit of a dilemma. What we're going to do with Souček, because we can't do this again. We can't have this season again with Rice and Souček. And I think the answer is to buy another centre midfielder, to bring in somebody that can play alongside Rice and Souček. I'm going to put him in key player. Like I said, I've always thought that he was sort of... He's got his limitations in possession of the ball, with the ball at his feet kind of thing. But I think he does everything else really good. Defensively, I think from a midfield standpoint, without being a specialist defensive midfielder, I think he's really good. Very energetic. Is a goal threat, should be more of a goal threat at West Ham, but we've seen that last season he's got in his locker. It's not that he doesn't have it, it's just that he's been a bit shackled this season. But I think he's a key player, and I think with the right additions this summer we can get the best back out of Thomas Souček. Unlike Benrahma, I'm not sure we will get the best out of Benrahma next season. Souček we can. So I'm going to put him in the key player actually. I'd like to see him sign, like I said, did a video last week or whatever. I'd like to see him commit to a 4 or 5 year deal with us, and becomes a bit of a mainstay actually. A really good player. I really like Souček. Now moving on, who have we got here? Pablo Fornals. We've also got a Bona. I'll put him in the he'll do for now, and that's maybe being a bit generous. No, actually, I'm gonna put him in the don't know. The reason I'm putting him in don't know is because I don't know how he's getting on. If his injury is that bad. If it is that bad, we're gonna. I know the club have said we'll give him a new contract and stand by him. And while I think it's admirable, and I always say clubs are quick to complain about lack of loyalty in football, but then when it's the other way around and you need to show loyalty to your player, sometimes the clubs are a bit ruthless like that. They say, no, we're not going to show loyalty. We'll just complain about it when it backfires. But with Ogbonna, I think when you take his again, if he was 23. I'd be happy giving him a new deal and sort of gambling that he's going to recover from this injury, but he's not. He's getting on a bit. He already had small injury niggles without this big one. You know, you'd often have like a back problem or whatever. You'd have to miss a few games. And when we're trying to move forward as a team and as a club and build for the future, it's difficult when you've got a centre-back in his mid-30s recovering from a horrendous injury. But the reason I'm putting him in there and not get him sold is because if he is recovering, if the club are happy that his rehab's going well, that he is going to be fit for the start of next season, then by all means give him that new deal. But I just worry that, not quite Winston Reid. Winston Reid was a mistake because we gave him a big contract. And I've admitted many times at the time I thought it was the right thing to do, give him that new long deal and keep him here and get it was a statement of intent I felt from West Ham at the time. It was wrong in hindsight, but at the time I was okay with it. Now, I don't want to make the same mistake with Ogbonna. I know we won't in terms of length of contract. But it's perfectly possible, as we speak, we give him a new 1 year deal and we never see him again for West Ham, and we pay his wages for another 12 months and he departs next summer instead. So for me, I'm going to put him in the yes, no, maybe, I don't know. I hope we see him. I hope he recovers because he is a top centre-back. But I'm unsure. I don't know. I would need more data from the club in order to decide which category he moves into. Manuel Lanzini, he'll do for now. He's back to his best. He's not quite there, is he? He's getting back to his best. We've seen glimpses of it this season. And while I've put so many players in the bottom category, I can't keep putting players in there. Do you know what I mean? I can't have half the squad either getting released or sold. You've got to have some sort of consistency. You've got to retain most of your players going forward. I think Lanzini's wages are pretty. I'd imagine they're all right for a Premier League squad player. I think they reflect what his role is. 70 grand a week or something, I imagine he's on. Can be a game changer for us. Becoming a bit super subby, like I said. I think whenever he plays well off the bench, deserves a start, gets it, and he doesn't really do enough in order to stay in the team. That's a small worry, but that's okay. Like I've just spoken about, if we could go get a big centre midfielder in the summer to help see the best of Souček, well, if someone's going to have to come out of the team, it's probably going to be someone like Lanzini. But having him in and around the team is not a bad thing. Really good option to have. I love him. I love Lanzini. He's a beautiful footballer. And he's one of those players, if you were to sell him, what would you get? 5 million maybe? Do you know, I said, would you replace Diop for what money you get? Yes, easily. Benrahma, easily. Lanzini, I'm not too sure. Okay, you can use the Lingard thing against me. I've used it in an argument previous. So you can say, well, hang on, we get Lingard, we can sell Lanzini and replace him already. That is true. But if you were to go out and buy a player with the money you receive for selling Benrahma, Diop, easy. Lanzini, I don't think you do. I don't think you go get a Lanzini for 5 million or something. Injury prone, we know that. It's just something we're going to have to accept. But this is why, if you can get rid of the other players that are injury prone, whether it be Yarmolenko or Ryan Fredericks, you can have one or two players in your squad that they're going to miss games. It's okay. I've never been one of these people that thinks you have to have no injury prone players at the club. Ideally you wouldn't, but every club's got a couple, don't they? It's just a case of how, Paul Pogba's injury prone, isn't he? I mean, you could certainly raise questions over how genuine those injuries are when he's unavailable for selection, but as long as they're not important, as long as they're not key players and we rely on them, as long as you can cope without them, I think you can have one or two. And I think Lanzini's that good. I think I'm okay with us having him in the squad, him missing 10 games a season or something through injury. Anyway, that leaves two players, Fornals and Johnson. I've sort of left them to the end because there may be a couple of controversial ones along with the others. Ben Johnson, I think a year ago I would have been expecting to put him in key player, I guess. Not so much does he start every week, but it's someone that I can see at West Ham for the next 5-6 years. But I'm going to put him in the he'll do for now category. And the reason being is the next couple of seasons for Ben Johnson are crucial. They're make or break. At the minute, do I think he should be starting? Well, yeah, Soufal's bang out of form. And I think Fredericks is bang out of form as well. But going forward, next season, is Ben Johnson good enough to be our first choice right back? I'm not too sure. I don't think so. Is Ben Johnson good enough to be our first choice left back? No. That's not great, is it? I mean, he's got to be playing first team football. At his age now, he's got to be playing first team football. He could leave West Ham and go play first team football elsewhere at a very good, a top championship club or perhaps a lower Premier League club. He'd be playing week in, week out. Is he good enough to be second choice left back and sort of right back at West Ham? I would say so. But is that good enough for Ben Johnson? I don't think so. I think when you're like Aaron Caswell a little bit later on in your career, I think that's acceptable. But when you're coming up to that important chunk, when you're between the ages of 24 and 29, you want to be playing football week in, week out, don't you? So it's a really crucial time that Johnson's entering. So I'm going to put him in he'll do for now, because I think for the next couple of seasons, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in 5 years' time, but also at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it come a couple of years' time, we've moved him on, because he hasn't quite made it good enough to be sort of first choice. He's got Soufal ahead of him at the minute, but he's also got Harrison Ashby right behind him. Ashby, Moyes has told us he's close to Premier League ready. Well, if that's the case, Moyes is soon enough going to have a decision to make as to whether to put Ashby in and blood him, or did he stick with Ben Johnson and hope that he improves? Because he does need to improve to become our first choice right back. At the minute, Soufal's bang out of form all season, yet still ahead of the pecking order, and Ben Johnson, rightly or wrongly, he is. That's facts. Soufal is Moyes' first choice. So I'm going to put him in he'll do for now. expected a bit more. I'm hoping for a bit more from Ben Johnson in the next 18 months or something, and hopefully next year when I do this, I'll put him in key player. Not confident I will be though. That leaves Pablo Fornals. I mean, this one's difficult, isn't it? He should be a key player. He'll do for now. I don't know. I think he almost needs to go like here. He needs to go in between the two categories. Will I sell him? No, I wouldn't sell him. Is the jury out? Well, no. We've seen more than enough of Pablo Fornals. The jury's not out on him. He's had adequate time to prove to us if he's good enough for West Ham. And I think he is. He's definitely good enough for West Ham. So he's going to go there minimum. I think I will put him in key player. I don't know actually. Key player he'll do for now. Key player he'll do for now. I am a bit of a Pablo Fornals fanboy though. I'm aware I am. Okay, let me explain my thinking, then I'll decide what to put him in. I'll put him in the jury one for now while I make up my mind. The reason I'm struggling with Fornals, I think Fornals' best attribute, when I did a video with Gonzo the other day and we were speaking about, we did the price tag video on Patreon, how much is each player worth? And I asked Gonzo a question. I'll ask you guys the same question right now. You'll come up with an answer like that. What is Pablo Fornals', if I said to you, can you give me Pablo Fornals' main attribute or characteristic? What's the best thing Fornals brings to West Ham United in terms of playing football? I bet your answer is he works hard. It's not great, is it? You don't buy a player because they work hard. You buy a player because they score goals, they set goals up. They're defensively really good, whatever. You don't buy a player because they work hard. You assume everybody works hard. Everybody should work hard. So his main attribute's not the best, is it? Now, beyond that is his passing. I think he's a really good passer of the ball. He's a bit too slow for the Premier League, though. We know he's not a winger. I worry that Pablo Fornals is a bit Andre Ayew. I remember, I've told this story a few times, but I'll tell a couple more won't hurt, because I will say it again in future. But for this one, I remember when we signed Andre Ayew and a Swansea fan said, fantastic signing. No, not so fantastic. Sorry, not fantastic. He didn't say that. He said, fantastic player in his right position. Good luck finding his right position. Now, I was a bit, not confused by it, but I was like, oh, okay, a weird comment to make. Fair enough. Within about 3 months at West Ham, I understood completely what the Swansea fan meant. I thought, Jesus, this guy is good when you play him in the right position. But what's his position? What was Andre Ayew's position? He wasn't a striker, he wasn't a winger, he was sort of like a second striker, but we didn't play with one. So I was like, well, where do you play him? I worry Pablo Fornals is becoming a bit like that at West Ham, that in his right position, he's a great player for us. But what is it? It's not a winger, it's not number 10, I don't think. Personally, I think he's a bit more of a number 8 in centre midfield in a deeper area. We don't really play with one of them. You certainly can't. To get the best out of him, you'd have to play him either alongside 2 other centre midfielders or with a defensive midfielder behind him, which we don't have. So my worry for Fornals long term at West Ham is, will we ever see the best out of him? Will we get the best out of Pablo Fornals? I'm not too sure. It doesn't make him a bad player at that. Like I said, I absolutely love the bloke to bits. I've always thought he would make it at West Ham, and to some extent I think he has in some ways, but for players like Fornals and Benrahma and Vlasic, they should be a bit like what Bowen is. Like, they just start every game because they're that good. You just don't drop them. And we at West Ham can't afford to buy players for 20, 25 million and get it wrong. We can't afford to do that. I don't think we've got Fornals wrong. I've always felt Pellegrini only bought him because there was an opportunity to buy him rather than because it's what he wanted. I think he saw Fornals, liked Fornals, knew he could get him for just north of 20 million, so he got him because he felt that he would be worth more in the future or something. I thought it was almost like a sign of convenience from Huselos and Pellegrini. I know, I'm going to put him in the he'll do for now. Definitely got a future at West Ham, but he's not Rice, Bowen, Zuma and Souček, is he? He's not quite that. Should be, would like him to be, but he's not. for whatever reason. Anyway, there you go. That's my tier list. There you go. So just to quickly recap, I've got Rice, Bowen, Zuma and Souček as key players. Players with a long-term future at West Ham, in my opinion. Then I've got the players who are in the he'll do for now. And just to remind you, it's not necessarily a reflection of ability. It could be because of tactics, because of injury record, because of age, because of whatever reason. Certainly for the next couple of years, but 3-4 years, I don't really see them being part of West Ham at present. In there, I've got Sufal, I've got Antonio, I've got David Martin, I've got Aaron Creswell, Craig Dawson, Lucas Fabianski, Manuel Lanzini, Ben Johnson, and Pablo Fornals. In the yes, no, maybe, I don't know, the jury is out. I've got Nikola Vlasic, I've got Areola, and I've got Ogbonna. Then get him sold or released this summer. The players that essentially I don't see being part of the squad next season. If it was up to me, I'd be cashing in on these players. I've got Darren Randolph, Arthur Masuaku, Ryan Fredericks, Mark Noble, sad, Alex Kral, Issa Diop, Andre Yarmolenko, and Said Benrahma. And just to remind you, I just don't think he's a Moyes player, that's all. Not a reflection on Benrahma or Diop's ability. I just don't think they suit the current manager. Anyway, I was going to say get involved in the comments. You can do, but also please, tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, Thursday, 5 p.m, we'll be live doing a community edition of this where the live chat will be telling us which category they think each player should go in. And then we'll take what we think is the most popular answer, we'll stick the player in to that category and build the Hammers Chat subscribers tier list. The squad list tier list. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, do drop a like on it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll catch you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Hopefully. See you in a bit.